is my wife, Samara.
Yes.
And we represent our company called Upper Life Consulting. And we're doing a segment today called Marriage and Mocktails, where we discuss, some of our own marriage and some things, hurdles we've overcome and issues we've dealt with. And we just want to honestly
share them with you.
Share them with you. We would love to see you overcome and succeed in marriage, especially during this time where everybody's kind of locked in and really have no really big choice.
Nowhere to go.
But to communicate with one another and build upon your marriage during this time as well. And that's one thing we love to do, and constantly working on ways to help build our marriage up.
Yes. So what we want to do over the next couple weeks and throughout is introduce Marriage and Mocktails, which we will be discussing all things M related. So, marriage starts with the letter M, so we're going to start out with topics that begin with the letter M. So before we get into all of that, you notice we said marriage and mocktails. So we have our very first mocktail that we have today, and it's actually a creation by one of my good friends. So there's no name to it, but I can let you know what was used to make the drink.
So use a blend of jalapeno limeade and lemonade. So lemon lime flavor today with an extra squeeze of lime on the side.
And some lime shavings in the inside.
Oh, really? I thought you put a little extra jalapeno in there. No?
No, it's lime shavings.
You got to keep it spicy and married. So, jalapeno limeade, keep it spicy,
Yes. So, just something to add to this talk and just something refreshing. So for those of you who may not be big drinkers, we thought it would be a good idea to introduce different mocktail drinks as we bring these segments to you. Okay?
Right. So as Samara told you about, we are working on the M's of marriage in our series. So our first M of marriage is, I guess we just started right out the gate. We talked about kind of a tough topic, one that we just recently experienced. Just to give you, I guess, overview what all occurred and
just to kind of walk you along what we experienced, the process, and the reason why we're deciding to share our testimony is because it's one topic that can make or break your marriage. And as sad and as crazy as that may sound, not everybody is able to go through that process and stick around while you're going through that process. So.
Right, and technically it's a process we're really still going through.
From a mental perspective.
Right.
So I guess back in January, early part of January, we found out that we were expecting, and it was a huge surprise to us.
Right, because it will be been our fifth child together. We already have 4 boys.
Yes. So.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
So yes, it was definitely a surprise and a shock to us to learn that we were expecting. But once we got over the shock and the surprise, of course, for me rather than him, because when I told him, he was trying to refrain or contain his excitement because I was initially pissed, just to be candid and honest. However, once I got over that, I was just like, okay, well, God is who he is and he knows best, so we're going to rock with it. And so, we set an appointment for us to go to my doctor, for them to confirm the pregnancy and to make sure everything was okay. So we did that. He scheduled for us to come back the following week because I don't think we were quite at 6 weeks. So we came back. He went in there and tested and it was fine. Then we had a ultrasound planned. And so during that ultrasound, that was during the time that we found out that there was no heartbeat. So if I can kind of bring you along in that arena, for me, because I am who I am, I did not initially show any physical emotion. Right. I really didn't know how to feel. You could, I guess, say that I was kind of numb because we had 4 children together and we had never experienced not having a heartbeat. So I didn't really know how to deal with that.
Right. You know how to kind of process those emotions. Of course, we believe in God always, and of course God is good despite the circumstances. And it was one of those situations where you didn't know whether to, pray that you find a heartbeat or, kind
or
of take it
just to
in.
take it in. We didn't know what to do.
Right.
So at that time, what the doctor suggested, they brought the doctor in because it's usually like a nurse or somebody doing the ultrasound. Brought the doctor in. He said the same thing, but they wanted to bring us back in as a, to see if this was just a fluke or if it was too early for them to kind of be checking for a heartbeat. So they brought us back in, and I want to say this was at the very end of January, and it was confirmed that there was no heartbeat at all. And I kind of started to bring myself mentally to hear that anyways, because that's just kind of how I react to things. I kind of went into a reaction formation, if you will. More of knowing that this is how I felt was kind of like angry, if I could just be transparent and honest, angry with God, but was kind of ashamed to say that just because I feel like he's all knowing, he's God. But I tried to portray as if everything was okay. And I just kind of started thinking about, well, for the summer I had all these plans and what I wanted to do, and pregnancy was not in the plan. So at least I could get back to my working out and doing things like that. And I know that sounds vain, but that's just kind of how my mind is set up and to help me kind of process what was going on.
And then I automatically, as her husband, just went into protect mode, because in the pregnancy past where we thought we were having a girl, ended up being a boy. Of course, the emotions were flooding because of that as well. And in that moment, I went into protect mode. Anybody that tried to come to the hospital, I kind of was the gatekeeper, didn't let anybody come through because I knew that she needed a time to kind of process and kind of deal with those emotions. And at the same time, I went into the same mode, doing the miscarriage, because I knew that her heart needed to be guarded. But at the same time, because of the person I am, because I'm so inclined to serve and make sure that she's okay, I kind of buried my own feelings, not even recognizing what they even were at the time, like so deep down in my gut. I didn't even know how I was actually initially reacting.
Now, to go back to when they said that there was no heartbeat, he actually did shed a tear or two. Whereas with me, it was like, no type stonewall, like no emotion at all. So, back to what he was saying, like him suppressing his feelings, and I was also concerned about that because I'm just like, just because it's me, I'm the woman that's going through this physically and emotionally, I know as the father, like he has his own emotions as well. So he was able to, you want to talk about
the so because I'm processing this as well, and one thing we've already talked about too was my desire to have a daughter as well. So of course my emotions are going haywire at the time too, because I'm thinking, well, what if this was the daughter I had been praying for? Not to say I'm not thankful for the children and the boys that we have, not at all. But of course those type of thoughts just run through your mind because you're dealing with something that you never dealt with before.
Right.
But at the time when I'm trying to deal with her and make sure she's okay, I was going to prayer at our church, when we could go and meet with other people.
Before social distancing.
Yeah, before all that occurred. And our pastor just happened to reach out to me right then and there when, after the prayer was over, we were just having a conversation, and it was like the floodgates came open. Like I just told him what all we were going through, and it was such a blessing to hear him just speak about his own issues regarding conceiving and things of that nature as well. And it was such a comfort to me to know that, he was hearing my heart during that time, and also to have that release.
Exactly.
To be able to let that out, and even though I didn't even realize it was there at the time.
Right. And so for me, like trying to also suppress the feelings because I didn't really want to feel the pain. I realized within the probably the next week, like my mind and body was just like, we need to release. I just would find myself like bursting out in tears, just out of nowhere. I could be at work, I could be on my way home, and I just found myself there, and I would be upset because I was just like, I don't want to cry, but here I am, very emotional and all to pieces about this. And so I ended up talking to a couple of people, just to kind of ease my mind and just for me to be able to communicate and verbalize some things. Mm-hmm. I also sought out a therapist, which the therapist was in the works anyways, because I wanted to start kind of seeing a therapist just about other things and being healed and whole and delivered, especially, this is the end of my 30s going into my 40s next year, and I just wanted to be healed. And so this just so happened to come I don't want to say it's the right time, because I don't feel like it's ever a right time to have a miscarriage, but at least I had like a support to kind of go through the process of that and to kind of digest what was going on and to feel what I was feeling at that time. So, I mean, it has definitely been difficult, especially the physical part, because what I did not realize, so just to kind of go back a little bit, right. when they said that we had miscarried, they suggested D&C, which is I don't know the proper terminology for, but it's pretty much when you go and they have the procedure done where they remove everything that was formed, right. thinking that your body was pregnant or what have you. So I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that surgery because my doctor said he would have had to put me to sleep because it's, I'm assuming, painful. It's a 5-minute procedure, but at right. the end of the day, like, it's pain that you experience if you weren't put to sleep. So I didn't want to do that. I was adamant about it, and I just kind of wanted to see if my body would do its own thing, when it was time.
They told us they gave us kind of like timelines when it could happen. And
exactly. So it wasn't happening when they right. were saying it was supposed to happen. So my doctor was, I think, kind of getting nervous, and he was like, you really need to go through this procedure. And then another thing that happened on top of that is I was going through some things at my job. So, and all of this will be shared in probably at another time, but going through some things there. So kind of was out of work for like a week or two, right? No, or two or 3 weeks, something like that. So I was just like, I didn't want to do this process, and then I have the proper things in place to be able to pay for it. Healthcare, all of this is going through my mind. So I was like, is there another way that I can go through this process without having the surgery? So he did say that there was a pill. So we were going to try that, but we learned that I couldn't take the pill because apparently the placenta, the sac was continuing right. to grow as if a baby was in there growing. Right. So I was told, okay, so we're going to still schedule this D&C right. for the next week, but they said, okay, you could still go through the process naturally over the weekend.
That's what we prayed about.
And so we prayed about it, and we ended up starting the process. Now, lo and behold, to me, I'm thinking, okay, it started. Right. I went through this process for several weeks. Toward the end of March, like everything stopped. So I thought that, hey, we're good. Mm-hmm. The process is over. Let's get back to my normal scheduled program. We're going to go to the weight loss clinic so I can get this weight off. Like this is all my thoughts because right. this is just how I am. Get to the weight loss clinic. They tell me, oh, no, you can't go through this right now because you're pregnant. I said...
Looking at me like I'm crazy, like I did something. I was like, I promise.
Like, bruh, like what? So then we realized, okay, because of the miscarriage, your hormones is still up in right. arms. So it was showing that I was pregnant, even though I was not. So they suggested that we wait, of course. So we set a date after his birthday because, we want to have a good time and right. eat and whatever. So we're going to go after his birthday. And so then, as if all the World War II of my body went down, like I was at work and boom, this whole process happened. I don't want to be so graphic, but I was like bleeding to no end. Right. Thank God for my boss. She was there and assisted me all throughout the way. It was really painful. And emotionally, I was a wreck again, back at square one. And so
when all that happened, where she had an issue at work, where everything really started rolling for real,
we had no idea, first
right.
of all, of what was going on. And if I could be completely honest, during that time, I was really nervous and afraid. Right. Because I honestly thought like I was gonna not be here. Because I was losing so much blood. And my boss, she is an RN, and she was, checking to see, and she said it was like 3 soft, large golf balls of blood, plus more. Like it was a lot. So we ended up getting my doctor on the line, scheduling an appointment, of course. I contacted my husband, right, just to kind of give him a heads up, because I didn't know if we would have to end up going to the hospital once my boss got me home, because I wasn't able to drive home. Right. She drove me home, and she really did take care of me, and I just really thank God for using her to just be there. Like, she literally took care of me like I was one of her very own family members. Seriously. I mean, I don't know that if I could ever like thank her enough for that.
Right. I called her myself just to thank her when I talked to her and just give her an update on how she was doing. I know when I got that phone call, of course, the immediate emotional response will be kind of nervousness, because it's like, oh my God, my wife's coming home because something happened at the job. But she wouldn't tell me the whole thing at the time either.
Mm-hmm. Because I didn't want to freak them out.
Right.
I didn't want to make them nervous. So when I was going through that process, in the bathroom at my job, I just began to, like, my boss, it was as if God used her. She turned around, she said, I was like, I'm feeling weird. Like, I don't know, like, what's going on. Like, I literally felt like I was out of here. I tried to stand up, and I was like completely collapsed on the floor. And she looked at me and she was like, Samara, calm down. And it was like as if like a light came on, and I was just like, okay. And so I began to call on the name of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And I know that without a shout of a doubt that he showed up in that bathroom, because I'm telling you, like, I had lost so much blood. Like, I know my hemoglobin was very low, but even in all of that, I was able to walk out of that building. I wasn't able to drive home, but I was able to walk out of that building, get home, to get into bed. I mean, there was pain. I mean, pain like none other. Now, mind you, I've had 4 C-sections. I've never experienced a vaginal birth, but I'm positive that that was probably what it felt like. Like, it was horrible. I got here.
Yeah, but even before you got here, and she gave me a phone call, I immediately, after initially becoming nervous, I said, you know what? No, I'm going to take some authority in this matter. And I immediately began to pray for her. And then I gathered our sons together, and we all prayed for her before she got home. Mm-hmm. Because I knew that was the right thing to do at the time.
Absolutely. And just to, piggyback off of what he's saying, it's so important to have like a spouse or a partner that is able to do that, to discern and to know, we need to really pull together and pray. So I'm very thankful for him, because once I got here, like, he was on it. He never left my side, and I am so appreciative, and I thank you so much. Like, it's been a ride up until this, look, at the end of April, because we're in May 2nd. Right. It's been a ride since then, but I am healthy, I'm whole. I had my doctor's appointment. Everything was fine. They just had me to have lab work done for like a week, just to make sure everything had passed and cleared out of my system. So that all went well. And my mom, she was over here, of course, and she was like, oh no, we're not going to no hospital, because all of this, with COVID-19 and everything going on, we gonna trust and believe God. And that's what happened. And thank God for my aunt, like, knowing, get some chlorophyll. Like, they had me drinking chlorophyll, which is supposed to be great for your blood type, your blood.
All these herbal remedies.
I mean, all of that. But I'm thankful, because your girl was like, Father, please, I know this is not the time or the way to go. So I say all that to say, like, we decided to share about this because I know that there are lots of women out here that experience miscarriages, and honestly, I didn't know what that felt like. But today I can tell you that I know where you are. It's really helpful, especially being in a marriage, to have a partner that is strong and that is capable of praying and holding your hand. And again, somebody who's willing to walk with you through it, because at this time, like, I feel like we pull closer together. Like,
and you have to do that. You got to pull closer together, especially when your partner is just not at their best. When you know how they are, you know how strong they are, and when I saw my wife just in pain like that, it was like light switch flipped on. Like I gotta take care of, make sure the kids are taken care of, make sure she's taken care of. But the blessing in it all is that they're boys, they're rambunctious sometimes, but they listen. They fell in line to do what they needed to do. Because all I gotta do is really say, "Hey, mommy's not feeling well." That's their world right there. That's their absolute world. They will not let mommy go down at all.
Not at all. And I'm so thankful and appreciative to them, because each of them plays such a vital role in who I am and who I have become. So I was just thankful for them and for my husband and, my mom and everybody else who was out there praying for us. But we just really wanted to come on today and say, there's hope after this.
Right, absolutely.
I surely was able to see God's hand throughout the entire process. And while the process seemed and sound grim, I saw his hand. I didn't want to have to go through that surgery. I didn't go through that surgery. So I try to find the highs in the very low lows. I'm still here. That's first and foremost, because I have heard of women losing so much blood that they have to have blood transfusions. I didn't have to have a transfusion. I had the transfusion of the blood of Jesus. And I know without a shout of a doubt that man showed up for me. And I am just forever grateful for that. I'm forever grateful for you, because you continue to show up for me every day. And I thank God for you, because during such a tough time, like, you could have, collapsed and become overwhelmed and couldn't help me out, could have ran out of here, because some people don't have the strength to stay and to go through things like that. But he continues to stay every single day. And I'm just thankful for what we have, for what God is continuing to grow within us and what he's doing through us. So I just really do pray that you was able, we, imparted God most importantly.
Absolutely. And if you feel like, it's not always easy to have that strength. And first and foremost, if you, don't feel like you have that strength, I invite you into a relationship with Jesus to gain that strength. Feel free to reach us on our website. I'll put down a link below. Or, also our social media handles as well. Reach out. We also have a marriage coaching program as well.
Yes.
We'll be more than happy to kind of coach you through, to give you some of those tools to help sustain you in marriage, especially during this time right now of this COVID-19. Or even any time beyond that. A lot of times we just don't have the tools to do what we need to do to help our marriages grow and to maintain them and sustain them.
Absolutely.
And it's not a bad thing to ask for help. It's
not at all.
Never a bad thing to ask for help. Even we, know when to ask for help. It's not something,
And sometimes asking for help is not easy, especially for me, like being in the profession that I'm in. I'm a social worker, soon to be licensed clinical social worker.
Right.
And so I know how to process. I know how to kind of compartmentalize different things, but because I am a social worker, sometimes it's difficult to recognize when you need to invite somebody else into that process. And so since I have done that, I've seen tremendous growth over the last couple of months, and I'm very thankful. So I just want to encourage anybody who's out there and you feel like, I need to go through some talk therapy. I need to, talk to somebody just to kind of get things out. What our mentorship program does is just offer you an 8-week time slot for us to help and to pour into you and your spouse. and, to hopefully, leave with you the tools necessary for you to win.
Right.
So again, just as my husband said, he'll have the link posted below. If you guys are looking for that, I know that we're continuing to be in social distancing in this pandemic where you're not really able to do much. But sit in the house and look at each other, and I know that's not the easiest thing to do for some.
Right.
But we're here to offer the help and our experiences to help you get through those times.
Absolutely. So until next time, you all be blessed.
Amen. Talk to y'all soon.